Ask yourself the damn question. Is winning the only thing to keep you?
Sports today are not just played on the field. They're played every day, online, all over the world, by sports fans just like you.
Don't you dare breathe. That won't get you anywhere. If you don't think you're a winner, you don't belong here.
The Star Fantasy League Show puts you in control of your own team. Find out who to sit, who to start, how to play, and have your daily fantasy sports questions answered with your host, Jonathan Sprung, and co-host SFL CEO Zach Stanley and Nick Steblenko. The Star Fantasy League Show is on the air now.
Hello and welcome to the Star Fantasy League Show here on 105.5 The Team in Rochester. I am your host, Jonathan Sprung, joined, as always, by SFL CEO, the mock draft master himself, Zach Stanley.
Roger that, Jonald.
You like that?
I am here.
I threw that nickname in there for you.
You know what I haven't had enough of this summer is corn on the cob.
We're gonna have dead air. You're back. You took a day off, but you're back with the puns.
Whoa, Nelly.
You're back with a pun vengeance. No. Nick Steblenko, what about you? How many puns do you have for me today?
I don't really have any puns for you, John. I think that you should restrict this man over here. Stop him. Put him in the full Nelson.
There we go. I was like, I knew there was a pun coming at the end of that comment, and I just didn't know what it was.
Pretty good ones.
Yeah.
Pretty good ones today.
Yeah.
I feel good about them. And we get to talk about a good team today, which is nice, in a very competitive and exciting division.
Yep.
Okay, again, I was expecting a pun at the end of that, and you let me down, Zach. I'm very upset. How did you not do anything with Ha Ha Clinton Dix? Come on.
Well, it's a stark comparison overall.
Okay. It's a Starks comparison. Yeah,
it's true.
It's close enough.
Sheboygan.
Wow. If you couldn't already tell, those ridiculous Packer-related puns means today we are breaking down the 2014-15 Nick Steblenko led Green Bay Packers. You're on the team, right?
Pack, go. Go, Pack. Go. Yeah, they're going to win this year.
I asked him before we went on the show if he could be objective, and he clearly is not being objective whatsoever. It's not happening.
Well, what do you expect, really?
I know, that is true. Before we get to the Green Bay Packers, we actually have to talk some news because, let's be honest, news is more important than the Green Bay Packers, right, Zach?
Nope.
Right, Zach?
Nope.
See, he can't. I told you, he can't be objective. It just can't happen.
You've never heard me talk about my team, John, and you're going to get a chance to see how hard I am on my own team. So,
how hard you are?
Yep,
Oh.
I am.
He knows a lot, so
Yeah.
we'll give him that. But whether or not that clouds his actual quality judgment remains to be seen.
That is true. All right, but before we get to that, we have to talk about some local news because, Zach, your boy left the preseason game over the weekend. Sammy Watkins, the future of the Buffalo Bills.
I was at a wedding, a big wedding.
So you weren't crying then, because if you saw this live, you probably would have broken down into tears.
No.
He might have.
No. Nothing happened.
I was very scared.
Okay.
But so I was at this wedding, Jeff Camardello and Emily Wold, congratulations. And I go over to one of the bars. It was at CCR, the Country Club of Rochester. I go over to one of the bars, and there it is on the TV. I'm looking at the Bills. It's the second quarter. I'm watching the offense, and I'm looking around, and I don't see Sammy Watkins. And so then instantly I became quite frightened and wondered what was going on, and I was told that he left early with a rib injury. But we soon got news thereafter that there was nothing to worry about, and it was merely a cautionary get-out-of-the-game bruise. He definitely would have kept playing on if that had been in a real game situation.
Football.
No,
So
I watched this live. Nothing really happened. They took him out because they were handling him with white gloves. All for naught. There's no scare here.
And I'm tired of people talking about how, like, he hasn't really contributed that much. He played, like, one series in the first game. In the second game, he had, like, 3 catches for 21 yards, but I think only played first quarter.
Yeah, how much do you
And this
need...
game, he was out. So what were people, like, what are these people expecting?
Well, how much do you need to see from a guy that you know can catch the football?
All I have to see is him in camp.
Yeah.
That's
What do you
literally
wanna
it,
see?
because he's just dazzling.
Well,
and
it's still
running
like-
circles around people.
I-
Yeah, you want to see
you
the
wanna
results in the
see
game.
it. Yeah,
but when he hasn't had the time actually on the field, I don't know what we're looking to see.
There's nothing to worry about. This guy, we've seen him live in camp, and the things that he's doing, they're just ridiculous.
They're superhuman things.
He's fantastic.
If he's a bust, it's going to be the most abnormal thing you've seen in football in a long. Because there's just no chance, right?
He is not going to be a bust.
Yeah, there's just no chance. I want there to be a chance because I want there to be some kind of controversy to talk about, but there just isn't.
Nope.
He's going to be really good in this.
Although
league.
the four letter did put that up as a topic on SportsCenter.
What, will he be a bust?
Yes.
They're idiots.
Sammy Watkins, a bust? Question mark?
Stop that.
What are you
Stirring
even
the
speculating about?
Stirring the pot.
He's the next Blaine Gabbert. Oh, that's not nice. We can't say that.
Yeah, I don't
Specula Center.
Yeah.
Yeah, Specula Center. Again, I have to mention that they don't even know fantasy. So what are they talking about? No idea. They have no idea what they're talking about. All right, so you mentioned something that isn't really a big deal. Sammy Watkins not going to miss time. But somebody that did go down with an injury over the weekend that probably will have some fantasy implications. Sean Grease having some knee troubles, and I believe this is a knee that he
Had
struggled
problems
with
on
before.
yeah.
Had orthoscopic surgery on.
Yep.
Yeah. He is on the practice field today, but that is something to note. Bishop Sankey, we're kind of waiting to see what this guy's going to be all about. He's got like a 4th-round ADP. He's really supposed to be a factor this year in fantasy. So if Sean Green's injured, that boosts his stock immediately, in my opinion.
Yeah, as well as Dexter McCluster. If Dexter McCluster ends up being the handcuff guy and Bishop Sankey ends up being the primary guy, you could see production from both sides. I mean, I think you can see production, especially in PPR, from McCluster anyways. But I'm excited to see Sankey and see what he's capable of. And honestly, I really don't think it would be a bad team for this team looking towards the future to get as much of Bishop Sankey on the field as possible to know where they're at.
Yeah, to kind of force themselves to do that. I agree. If Sean Green goes
Sean
down,
Green
that's almost
Sean
a
Green is
decision
like, let's
for them.
find out what this guy can do. We already know what he's capable of. It's not that much.
Not much at all.
So there's really you're not really not getting anything out of it. This isn't in all likelihood going to be a playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
So get your guys out there, get them to making some plays, and look toward the future.
Yeah, this team is probably 2 to 3 years away from being a playoff team. Why would you waste your time with Sean Green? He's not going to be on the team in 3 years when this team is actually decent.
I think they could be in the playoffs at the end of this year.
You think
It could
so?
happen.
You think they can make the playoffs this
They're
year?
in such a bad division.
Well,
and really, we talked about Tennessee. You don't know which way they're going to go. They have Jake Locker, total unknown. They have Justin Hunter, total unknown. I mean, they have a ton of pieces there. Kind of a wait-and-see type of thing, and I think that having Bishop Sankey in there all 16 games, I don't know. We could see something special.
I feel like Houston's that team in that division that could go either way. I guess Tennessee might be the same way. It's just I don't know what we're going to get out of this Houston team with Ryan Fitzpatrick under center.
Yeah, in Tennessee, it's all about Jake Locker.
Yeah.
If he can do what he's shown that he's capable of doing and continue to grow, and yes, most importantly, stay healthy.
Don't
then
break
they could be
something.
a threat. They got a good wide receiver package. They have a decent defense, at least talent up and coming on the defense. I guess I don't really know why we're still talking about them because we're talking about the Packers today.
That is true.
Oh,
Today,
yeah.
Today we are talking about Nick Steblenko's 2014-15 Green Bay Packers, and we can't mention the Green Bay Packers without mentioning future Hall of Famer and maybe best quarterback of all time, Aaron Rodgers.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I wanted to get that out of
That
the way
was
because I
nice.
knew he was going to give him a glowing, absolute best ever review.
How can you not? The guy is clearly MVP candidate every single season.
This has nothing to do with Cal or anything? You're not going to do Cal and Green Bay melding into
It
one?
does not have anything to do
Okay.
with Cal.
I'm just
it has
checking.
to do with the fact that Aaron Rodgers clearly is the reason that this team has a great offense.
All right,
That's clearly why they continue to be a perennial playoff team.
What was he on pace for last year? He ended up getting 2,500 yards in 9 games, 17 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 66% completion percentage. The guy is just an absolute dominating beast.
He was averaging over 280 yards per game. Went down for 7 games. I mean, think about that. They were 5-2 when he went out.
And he wasn't even really. They kind of rushed him back a little, don't you think?
No.
You think he was 100% when he came back?
Yeah, absolutely. Because the fact is they kept putting him off, and they kept putting him off. Remember how they said that he was going to be out for possibly 3 weeks? We all knew that was a joke. He broke his collarbone. That is at least 6 weeks, probably 8. And they needed him at the end of the season. I thought he was ready to go right then and there.
You ever get concerned with how he runs at times?
Yes.
Puts himself on the line too much?
Absolutely. Okay. How about the year that they won the Super Bowl? He went down with a concussion because he didn't slide. And then he learned how to slide. Last year it was just Julius Peppers got to him and he fell the wrong
And
way.
he got crushed, yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about.
And then we bought him.
I was gonna say let's talk about
Yes.
getting crushed because the biggest offseason addition for this team would happen to be Julius Peppers.
I love it.
Another one of these inner rival. Oh, this is our biggest rival. Screw it. I'm just going for the money.
Well,
Are
yeah.
you okay with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Now, if it was the other way, if you went from your team, like if B.J. Raji
Hang
goes
on
from
a second,
Green Bay
though.
to Chicago,
Julius Peppers was he was a Carolina Panther.
Right, I was just going to
he's
say
not-
that.
yeah.
I was
This
like,
is true.
When
This
his
isn't like-
name when his name pops into my head,
It's Carolina.
I do not see him in a Bears
Yeah,
uniform.
this isn't like Brian Urlacher coming over and playing.
now
for the
that would
Packers.
be a big deal.
Yeah, this is the third stop on his illustrious career, and yeah, I love it. It's great. But the Bears went out and they got Jared Allen,
so that's
still the same.
Now that's the
we're
issue.
We're still worried about facing the Bears because They have a pass rush.
But there needed to be some improvements on defense,
Oh
and
my
he is a
God,
big
yes.
name to get in there.
Oh
yeah,
my God,
let's
yes.
be honest. As good as their offense was, 3rd overall, their defense was 25th overall. All negative categories, bottom of the league in takeaways, the 18th overall. I mean, they just nothing on the defensive side of the ball screamed, "Ooh, we're respectable."
I was actually very upset that we brought back Dom Capers. I know that he has been good in the past, but over the last 3 seasons, this defense has been terrible. They have not been good. And even the year that they won the Super Bowl, the year they won the Super Bowl, they were 5th overall, and then the next year they were 32nd overall.
Yeah, that's
like
bad.
It's like he's gotten complacent, and he doesn't try anything that new to get the ball back in our best player's hand.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Peppers is going to help some of that.
A little.
But you can't just rely on – literally, their off-season additions for veterans, 2 players.
Yeah. And
2.
They have a big problem on their front 7. Their secondary I actually like. Their front 7, a lot of questions. Is Julius Peppers going to be an end, an outside linebacker? Is the inside of the linebacking core solid with A.J. Hawk and Brad Jones? And then on the defensive line, B.J. Raji finally moving back to a nose tackle spot. I don't know why he was a defensive end.
Yeah,
There's just so many questions there.
It's pretty surprising that they haven't at least improved a bit, given the fact that there are a lot of names on that defense.
Yeah,
Yeah, they might be suffering from that. It's just they're holding on to names that aren't really playing up to their full potential, or maybe they're just not that good.
Who would be a name that you're thinking about?
I don't know.
That's not living up to its potential.
I don't know. I feel like they're all pretty good.
Yeah, I think they
All
are
the big
too.
Yeah, then how is this defense overall so bad?
That's my issue. Is I think that Dom Capers' scheme is so all over the board. It relies heavily on turnovers. You need to have turnovers for this defense to work. It's a bend, don't break kind of defense. You see teams be able to move the ball down the field all the time. And in the year that they won the Super Bowl, their biggest thing was creating turnovers in the red zone. Remember in the playoffs, Tremont Williams, Sam Shields, these guys came up with huge interceptions at key moments. That's not a scheme that's going to work a lot over time.
Yeah, if you look at some of those scores, there's a decent chance of them getting in a shootout with anybody.
Yep.
It really doesn't matter whether it's the Saints or whether it's the Titans or whoever.
Yep.
You know, it can end up being a high-scoring game, and Aaron Rodgers having to push the ball up the field the entire game, not be able to really control the clock that much.
Yep.
What you just mentioned, we're going to talk about it come after the break, is going to be a big problem, especially this season, because their schedule is not looking good for if they don't want to get in shootouts.
Doesn't matter. We're better.
Okay, of course, there it comes out of his mouth.
13-3, baby.
We're going to win everything.
And they're coming to Buffalo.
That is right. All right,
I
coming
will
up
be there.
Coming up after the break, we are breaking down more of the 2014-15 Green Bay Packers and also some draft stuff. And you're listening to the Star Fantasy League Show on 105.5 The Team.
The Star Fantasy League Show. Information is key to being a successful fantasy team owner, and the guys have all the updated info you need right now. Okay, fantasy sports fans.
There's a letter in your mailbox.
Time to dig into Donald's mailbag for your questions and comments.
Read the mail, read the mail, read the mail.
Jump in the game. Send your questions and comments to the Star Fantasy League's team by tweeting at SFL Show.
We're back on the Star Fantasy League Show, and you can tweet us at SFL Show if you want to be part of the discussion. No John's mailbag today because we are breaking down all 32 NFL teams, and we have now entered the NFC North.
We realized this getting into this when we first started, that there is just so much that you can talk about for every team.
We could spend 3 hours and we only have an hour show. That's a problem, right?
Yeah, and well, I mean, we like to focus a lot on fantasy football in this show, and you get through everything. You talk about the defense, you go over some stuff, and then you could just go on and on about fantasy forever.
Well, and on that note, today is Monday, and we are starting, since it's only, 2.5 weeks till the season starts, basically? It's Mock Draft Monday, and we're going to start doing this up until the beginning of the season. That's right.
2 weeks from Thursday, there will be an NFL game
Zach's
on TV.
face just lit up when I said mock. He's like, Mock Draft Monday, all right. So what we did was we did a mock draft today with all the members of the Star Fantasy League's office, including the people that are on this show, as well as Jason Gringer. And we're going to break down the teams we managed to do round by round. This whole week, we're going to be doing basically one big mock draft.
I love drafting. I love mock drafting. It's an obsession.
I do at least 2 a day pretty much for the entire month of August just
think,
because
Nick,
it's just a great time.
Nick,
It's
I think you're
perfect.
addicted.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you might be addicted to mocking.
I am addicted to mocking.
He is the mock king.
Do we need to send him to mock rehab?
I'm the guy that'll be like, all right, I'd rather put something on the line, so I'll actually do a paid league as sort of a mock draft, and just keep going through and do more and more paid leagues.
All right, yeah,
can't do that.
All right, so we're talking mock draft Monday in the last segment of the show, so we'll get to that. But now we're still talking Green Bay Packers. Before the break, we mentioned the possibility of every game for the Green Bay Packers being a shootout because of how bad the defense is and because of how good the offense is. So if we're going off of that notion, man, this season's going to be tough because their schedule actually scares me a little bit looking at it because they are playing the NFC South with the teams that have some pretty good offensive weapons. That means the Saints. That means the Falcons. Carolina's offense, honestly, I have no idea now. No idea. No wide receivers. Yeah, that's probably going down. But then you have Tampa Bay, who could be coming up with a competent quarterback there. I actually like that team a little bit.
I don't think the defense is going to be as bad as they were last year. I think they are going to take a step in the right direction. They have focused on drafting for defense. Nick Perry, he definitely kind of turned into a bust, but Dayton Jones, I think they're going to use him a lot more this year. And then HaHa Clinton-Dix is actually a very, very good player.
Despite the name.
Exactly.
Ridiculous
He is
name.
kind of funny, too. But at the same time, he was rated as a top safety in the draft, and we got him at the 21st position. That's great.
He wasn't the first safety taken, though. Wasn't there
Calvin Pryor.
I was say there was a stretch guy taken above him.
Calvin
Jets,
Pryor.
right?
But I think that he's going to fit in nicely. We haven't had a good safety since Nick Collins of that Super Bowl team, and it's something that this secondary needs desperately because they need somebody that's going to be a ball hawk.
Yeah.
So I think they could do better, but you're right. They do have a tough schedule. I hate that we lead off the season with Seattle in the first game.
Well,
I don't think we played them in Seattle, in Green Bay since the playoffs in like 2007, which is ridiculous to me.
Well,
and this is the rematch of the Fail Mary.
Yeah, exactly. Not only do you
started the Seahawks run.
You get at Seattle, but your other whatever they call it, the random game they throw in there is Philadelphia. So if you want a nice little defensive matchup in that game, not happening.
Yeah, no, it's not. But I actually like the matchup there. I really do think the Packers are coming in underrated this season.
Well, their Vegas over-under right now is 10 wins. I actually think that's a little low. But based off the schedule, I mean, they're going to have dogfights in the NFC North. You know it for a fact. Minnesota is probably going to be the weak link there, but I could see them possibly stealing a game.
They always play Green Bay
Minnesota's
really well.
exciting. There's some pieces in place there.
Yep.
There's some young guys that they've got, and I think they're going to be a team to watch, especially with the development of Teddy Bridgewater and the Norv Turner offense.
Well, and I know we're going to get into this, and I don't know when we're doing the Vikings, but Adrian Peterson's going to have a big year. I really believe he'll have a huge year.
You don't know when we're doing the Minnesota Vikings? We're doing them tomorrow.
Okay.
Do
we have to talk about the Bears?
I just made that decision today.
Okay, sounds
just
good.
right as we were talking.
So I mean, anytime the NFC North is they're always great games. I can't wait till I always circle that the first game against Chicago. Always wait to see that. I think that all of those games are going to be great. They're all going to be
And
good.
don't forget, Minnesota, those games are outdoors now. They're playing at Minnesota Stadium or whatever the heck it's called, the Gopher Stadium.
What is do we know what the Vegas line is on that first game against Seattle?
I haven't seen it yet, no.
I
think it's too early for those lines to be out.
I would say it's -3.5 for Seattle.
That sounds about right.
I would actually argue that there are going to be people that say like -5, -6.
I
think it's wrong, but I think
you might
that's
be
what
right.
people
Yeah,
are
you
gonna
might be
thinking.
right. That's possible.
I really do think that the Packers are going to come into the season really underrated. I think people are going to look at that first game and say, yeah, Seattle's defense is going to run over Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. I just don't think that's going to happen.
Well, Nick,
I think the Seahawks are going to take a slight step back defensively.
Yeah, Nick, they might be a little underrated as a team, but man, their fantasy parts are not underrated whatsoever. That leads me to my biggest offseason question for the Packers. Can Eddie Lacy continue to improve and become an elite running back in the NFL in only his second season?
My goodness,
the line is 5.5, by the way.
It is 5.5.
Oh wow!
See, I thought that would be.
I bet I will almost guarantee that comes down towards game time as the sharps, as they say it, get a hold of that because that's a really high line.
Eddie Lacy I was ecstatic when this guy fell to the second round. I couldn't believe it, and I think he is going to be he could go down as the best runner in Green Bay history. I really do think that he has all of the tools to be a great NFL running back.
Better than Ahman Green.
I was say, technically your number one overall is Ahman Green.
Okay, so
I'm saying that's not a really high bar for a franchise.
He was good.
It's not daunting, though.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
he's
fine.
not an elite like you think. You go, oh, he's the best ever. Like,
all right.
You have to admit that.
Fine. So I'm still saying that he is he could be the best runner in Green Bay history, which
He's
is
like,
still
yeah, I mean, he
saying
looks
something.
like the complete package. He showed it right out of the gate, and he got better as the year went on.
And he got so many more opportunities because Rodgers was out last year. So now the Packers know what they're dealing with. They know that they have a running back. They know when Rodgers first took control of this team, they had a running game. They were really good running the ball, and that opened up the play-action pass, and that was one of the best parts of the game for the Packers.
I mean, I don't know if underrated is the right word. I would say under the radar.
Yeah.
Because if you look at Aaron Rodgers injury, Jordy Nelson injury, Randall Cobb injury. So all these guys coming back healthy, if they can maintain that, this is going to be right up there as the most powerful offense in the league.
They finished third last year, and there's no reason that they wouldn't have finished second if all of those guys were not injured.
And, of course, Matt Flynn's back, so you've got that going on.
I loved it. I couldn't believe he was such a journeyman last year.
Take a trip around and come on back.
Yeah, jokingly, I wanted to talk about some camp battles, and the first one I wanted to bring up was Aaron Rodgers against Matt Flynn. I mean, do you think there's going to be some challenge there?
You know, I actually had to watch Matt Flynn play the year that I went and saw a game at Foxborough, Gillette Stadium. Yeah,
wasn't that like that was like the crazy Matt Flynn game?
It was a great game, and Matt Flynn was a great backup
that
quarterback.
was the game when Matt Flynn won the lottery.
He won 40 million, whatever it was from Oakland.
Yeah,
good for him.
32, I think.
No, he made it from Seattle, didn't he?
And then
Seattle, yep.
And then they had him play in that game against Detroit where he threw like 6 touchdown passes or something. I mean, yeah, I loved Matt Flynn as our backup. I hated to see him go, and I was really happy when he came back because he fits into the scheme so well.
And his name isn't Scott Tolzien.
Yeah,
that's why.
Unfortunately for Scotty Boy.
Yeah, you need some kind of actual
couldn't
decent
hold it together.
Backup. All right, so let's talk about some other camp battles, some actual camp battles going on. Wide receiver 3. We saw a lot of Jarrett Boykin last year at the end of the season. Didn't have a catch through the first 4 weeks, but he finished the season 49 catches, 681 yards, 3 touchdowns. He actually had a couple really good weeks for this team with the injuries they had.
Yeah, he did.
Now he's going. Do you think he's going to step in and actually get this third spot right away, or do you think they're going to give Devontae Adams a chance?
Well, I think that's a wait and see. I think Jarrett Boykin has a hold on the position right now.
I mean, he looks like he earned it last season. He played really well when he had the chance.
He also wasn't really good to start the season, though. He only got his opportunity because of injuries.
Yeah, exactly.
And he had a lot of drop issues. I had a big problem with him at the beginning of the season because they tried to focus on him in a couple of games, and he just dropped the ball constantly.
Wait, hold on. Did you say drop? Was Emmanuel Sanders on Green Bay last year?
There we go.
I'm sorry. Every time you mention the word drop, I'm going to throw it in there. I'm going to throw him under the bus.
They drafted the wide receivers later in the draft for a reason. They want some competition.
Well,
Aaron Rodgers can make any receiver. He really can.
Well, Adams, you went pretty early for him. He was in the second round.
That was my thought behind it. I'm not touching Jarrett Boykin right now with where he's being drafted. I just don't see him getting enough opportunities, even if he is in there, to be a viable fantasy option as a wide receiver 3. I mean, the only way that he'll break through again in a PPR league is if one of those guys goes down again.
And he's getting drafted in the 11th round.
The only problem is, could Devontae Adams be this year's Jarrett Boykin if somebody goes down? I mean, could he jump over him at some point? And then if you have Boykin, you're screwed.
I don't think he's a long-term solution. It's not. He's
Boykin or Adams?
Boykin.
Okay.
He's small. He doesn't exactly have all the athletic pieces together in comparison to a Randall Cobb, where he can continue to get better and be on a path like that. I just don't see it happening.
Just remember, we're replacing James Jones. James Jones was a premier third receiver, could have been a second receiver, and now he's vying to be a number 1 receiver in Oakland. Those are big shoes to fill. So I'm curious and I'm interested to see what's going to happen. I'm not worried about it as a Packers fan. I think they're going to be fine.
So much time spent without Jordy Nelson.
Well, what's going to happen with no tight end to speak of to throw the ball to? I mean,
hold on a minute.
We'll see.
Yeah, I'll say who are we seeing here?
Richard Rodgers. He's the rookie. I mean, he wasn't very special at Cal, but the other guys they're kind of like.
They're meh. They're really meh. Yeah. Corliss and Bostic.
Corliss, I love Corliss. He's been great. He certainly has fit into the system as a blocker more than a catcher. But I don't know. I'd rather see Richard Rodgers step into the role.
Talking about Rodgers is like little Finley.
Mini Finn.
Yeah,
baby Finn.
Ooh, I like that. I like baby Finn.
Which is great for them if he's able to step into those shoes. We all know how much, even just historically, how much Green Bay has loved their tight ends, and how much Aaron Rodgers loves his tight ends. This could be great, and he could be a huge sleeper in fantasy.
I think we should just bring back Bubba. Bubba Franks.
Bubba Franks.
My man.
I remember Bubba Franks. I like him a lot. All right, let's talk about some ADP average draft position real quickly, and then we'll talk about it after the break as well. The man for your team is going to be Eddie Lacy this season. He's going as last year you could get him pretty late, right? I think around fourth round.
Yeah, you could.
Something like that. He was going around the same place Monty Ball was going.
No secret this year.
Yeah, he's RB5, 6 to 7 is where he's going overall.
I love it.
Clearly in the middle of the first round.
I love it. I really think you're going to be fine if you take him there. He's going to have all the goal line work. He's going to be more in the passing game. He's going to be great.
Yeah, what they hoped for last year out of Eddie Lacy in drafts was pretty much what they're hoping for out of Bishop Sankey this year in fantasy drafts. Mm-hmm. It played out perfectly with Eddie Lacy, especially if you're in keeper leagues. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Whether it happens with Bishop Sankey remains to be seen, but I think he's a guy that's going to see his catches increase this year.
Yeah, probably like
he's got
40, 50, something like that.
He's got the entire package. Aaron Rodgers being back should actually open things up more.
Yep.
He could be through the roof this year. He could be in the top 4. I think.
All right, what's his ceiling? We going 2,000 yard ceiling or a little under that?
I would say 1,400 on the ground.
Oh, yeah, I mean overall total.
Maybe 300-400 in the air.
All right, that's 1,700 yards.
That's fair.
That's elite. That is absolutely elite. Coming after the break, we're going to talk about the average draft position for everybody else on these Green Bay Packers. And you're listening to the Star Fantasy League Show on 105.5 The Team.
Play fantasy sports for cash prizes. Join the top daily and weekly fantasy leagues in the country at starfantasyleagues.com. Now, back to the Star Fantasy League Show with Jonathan, Zach, and Nick, only on The Team.
That's right, guys. The band is back together. Jonathan, Zach, and Nick here on the Star Fantasy League Show because you guys like to just go off and do your own thing sometimes.
Sometimes.
It's very depressing.
It's tangents.
I get sad when the band isn't here. I get sad.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice when we're all together because we just produce a top-of-the-line product, of course. But, I missed you guys. I missed you guys last week, so it's good to be back.
That's adorable, Zach. All right, before the break, we were talking about the ADP for the Green Bay Packers offensive guys. We mentioned Lacy. Who would you take if he drops to, if you have, the 5th pick? Who are you taking there? Is it just him? You're going all the way up to 5
I don't think there's anybody.
If Calvin Johnson's on the board at 5,
no,
you go Eddie Lacy.
I would go Eddie Lacy.
I kind of agree, just because there are some wide receivers that are coming back on that back end that are very viable options that could produce upwards of what Calvin Johnson might produce.
I think that you might even be able to find Antonio Brown coming back in the middle of the second round.
Oh, yeah, you definitely could.
And if you're in a PPR league, having Eddie Lacy, Antonio Brown, and then possibly even being able to take Aaron Rodgers in the 3rd round, because I have seen him slip down there, you're set.
Julio Jones has dropped oddly in some drafts just because of injury concerns.
Yep.
Which I think that whole thing is ridiculous. Some guy gets knocked out for the year. It's like saying, well, I'm not going to draft Jamal Charles because he went down for a year.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And it could happen again.
Let's
you could say that about anyone.
Let's take lessons from Mr. Peterson there, who goes down in week 15 with a blown ACL, comes back and has the best season of his career.
Yeah, there's such a thing as injury history. You see that with guys that have reoccurring and constant hamstring problems and stuff like that. A guy tears his ACL after being good for a year or two, and then he's out for a year. As long as all the reports are good in camp and it looks like he's successfully recovered, go 4th. Don't worry about it.
Yes, take him. He slips to you, take him. Do that. All right, we got to talk about the rest of these Green Bay Packers. How about the wide receiving core? We got Jordy Nelson, wide receiver 8, 19th overall. That's 2nd round.
I mean, his numbers last year certainly warrant him being that high, especially because he had a bunch of games without Rodgers.
Yeah, 85 catches, 1,314 yards.
So then, if you have him with Rodgers, you probably have 100 receptions, 1,500 yards, 10 touchdowns?
Probably something
That's
like that.
possible. No, you don't think so?
No, I completely agree. I think that he, at the end of the 2nd round, he dips down there. If you're and you end up getting somebody like Adrian Peterson and then getting him on the way back, you are feeling great about yourself. And that's one of the reasons that this year I really am keeping a close eye on the top picks, because I feel like every time I get one of these top 3, top 4 running backs, and then on the way back I've got a slew of great receivers that I can choose. It's a great position to be in.
It is. It feels out because you have a number 1 running back. Now you can go for 2 number 1 wide receivers.
Well, yeah, depending who's still there. I've seen Marshawn Lynch dropping to somewhere in the mid to late 2nd round, and if you get an overall top running back there and Marshawn Lynch, and you can come back around and still get one of those top receivers.
Yep.
I like that because I still think wide receiver is the deepest position
That's true.
this season.
That's
by
not
far.
a bad
That's
approach.
why when we talk about our mock drafts overall, I'll bring that up a little bit. Other than that, you got Randall 10th, 23rd overall. I think that I don't like that.
Really?
Obviously, Jordy, I love. Randall, I don't know.
I think Randall Cobb is another great pick because you got to remember the injury that he sustained was kind of a freak accident. It really wasn't. It has nothing to do, no bearing on his history on health. I think he's a great pick there too.
He's a spark plug, and the way that this offense is, I mean, it could be a lot of. I mean, if there was no Randall Cobb and there was just Boykin, you'd be looking at him as a top 5 round guy.
Think about it.
I would say.
Think about it this way: Denver, literally the only offense in the league that I would say is better than the Packers when everybody's healthy. They had 3-4 guys that you would be taking in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, and he's not Jarrett Boykin. He's Randall Cobb. He's a spark plug, and he is very talented, and he is good for a lot of catches, which is huge in PPR.
Mm-hmm.
That is very true. All right, what about the rest of this team? Aaron Rodgers, obviously QB3, going in the second round pretty late, 22nd overall. I think that's a little early.
You know what? If he falls to me in the 3rd round, I have no doubt about it. I would pull the trigger right away. Second round, me personally, my strategy is either go with wide receivers or running backs in your first 2 rounds. If you like the production, there's going to be production. He's fantastic.
Don't you think him and with this offense that they've got putting together with some upside and everybody back and healthy, don't you think that he's right on Drew Brees' level in fantasy?
I think he's better.
You think he's going to produce more this year than Drew Brees?
If he's in there for 16 games and the pieces are all there, yes.
Yeah, because
I agree. I think he'll get just as much or better. So what's the reason to
But this is why it all depends on your strategy. If you have one of the first 3 or 4 picks, and then you go through, you get your number 1 running back, maybe you get a number 1 wide receiver, and he's sitting there at the beginning of the 3rd round, there is no question. Pull the trigger. You're good to go. You have 3 of
I've seen him even later than that in a couple drafts, which is crazy.
And I would be in heaven.
Yeah.
That is right. All right, we're talking about all this drafting. That'll wrap up the 2014-15 Green Bay Packers. I know, Nick, you're upset.
I am so ready for this season, baby. We are going to be great.
Well, not only are you ready for the season, are you ready for the first ever Star Fantasy League Show Mock Draft Monday?
I love it.
We have a few minutes here, and by a few, I mean most of the segment, to talk about a mock draft we did a couple hours ago with the Star Fantasy League's crew. Head to starfantasyleagues.com. Not only do we have a season-long platform now to go along with our amazing daily games, we also have mock drafting available. If you don't know if you like our software yet, and you don't want to put the money in, and you want to try something out, click on the mock draft lobby. Try it out. You will fall in love immediately, and you'll sign up for a game.
Yeah, even if you're somebody that just gets together with their buddies once a year and does a draft, and you want to be prepped, you want to get ready, just jump on the site and play. It's fun. The interface is amazing. It's everything that we hoped that it would be, and it is working as smooth as possible right now.
Yep, we are the first daily fantasy sports site to offer season-long as well, and I think that our programmers did about as good a job as humanly possible. We work them like we overwork them, right?
It's beautiful. I love getting in there, even just the mock drafts. I love getting in there and drafting because I love looking at this interface and experiencing all that it has to offer. There's so many things that you can do with it. The queue, the pick history, the chat. I mean, everything is just
the new feature that went
beautiful.
live over the weekend is you can pick your position in mocks now. If you want to try your strategy from the first pick or the last pick, you can do that now.
It's very important. It's so important to try different strategies from different positions. If you know your draft position in your upcoming draft, oh man, that's a great tool for you.
But today we are breaking down just the first 3 rounds of our mock draft earlier today. We somehow, and it's all random if you don't pick your spot. So we just did random. Somehow, all 4 of us, Zach, Nick, Jason, and I, we got picked 7 through 10 out of a 12-person league. This was completely random. I'm really not sure how that happened.
Those are rough positions to have, too.
I know, because you're right outside the top. I think there's a top 5.
I was in 7.
Yeah. I think there's a top 5 for running backs, but gone. So you can't get any of those guys. All right, so let's go up to it. Everybody's gone. Zach, you have picked 7. Tell us what you did and tell us what was going through your mind seeing basically where you're drafting.
Well, the running backs, just based on the rankings, all of the top running backs fell right off the bat, and all of a sudden I'm sitting there looking at Kelvin Johnson at pick number 7. Mm-hmm. So it was a no-brainer for me. I was happy to take him. Great starting pick. I rolled with it. Why not?
Yeah, that's
pretty. There was nobody else. I mean, you saw there was Gio Bernard was there. Obviously, I could have taken Demaryius Thomas if I wanted to.
It just depends which wide receiver you
like.
Yeah,
I was going Calvin Johnson all day right there.
Yeah.
All right, obviously, Nick, you have the pick right after him. You just saw Calvin Johnson go off the board. You basically choose between Demaryius and Gio Bernard here, right?
That was pretty much it. I mean, in my opinion, I like having a running back, but at the same time, Demaryius Thomas is going to be a beast. So I really thought, I kind of went with your strategy. There are a lot of wide receivers. It is a deep pool. So I said, let me go after Gio Bernard. He has had a lot of good word out of camp, over 300, possibly even 350 touches this season. He's going to have goal line work. I think that he might be. It might seem like a stretch to some people. I think it's.
I don't think it is a stretch, and honestly, I think he's going to keep creeping up into that 8.76 range because they are talking him up. They are talking about him not having as much of a concern about the goal line carries with Jeremy Hill and Ben Jarvis.
Yep.
They want over 300 touches for him. It's perfect.
Yep. Next pick was number 9. Jason took Demaryius Thomas. That's kind of a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, it was a good one.
And then I was left with the unenviable task of picking one of the running backs here. I personally went with Monty Ball. I got stuck with him last year in the 4th or 5th round.
I don't think you're getting stuck with anything bad this year.
No, that's what I'm saying. I think he's the guy here.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick. I mean, him and then DeMarco Murray, I'm kind of wrestling with those two guys at the 10th spot. I think both of them are going to have fantastic seasons, but Monty Ball, you have the upside of going in a Peyton Manning offense.
Yeah, exactly. It was between him, DeMarco, and Le'Veon Bell, and I settled on Monty Ball. I think he has the highest. I think he's the most consistent of the three. I'll say that much. I think you know what you're going to get. He doesn't have the crazy upside, but I liked him. And then I guess we're heading into the second round here, and obviously I'm up first. I keep saying Marshawn Lynch is slipping to the second round, and I like to go with running back if I can get two guys that I really, really like here. And Dez Bryant popped off the board right before I picked. I was probably going to go Dez Bryant in the second round, but Marshawn Lynch was here. I had to go with him.
Yeah, no, I have no problem with the pick. I'm a little just concerned about the aging for Marshawn Lynch a little bit, as I voiced, and also that he doesn't get that many catches. But this offense is pretty much tailored for him.
Yep.
I mean, they're not a big play offense. They're a pounded offense.
Yep.
Pick up yards, stretch out the drive. So and he's the touchdown guy.
It's also important. Yeah, it's important to have a goal line back. If you're going to have him as your second running back, I have no problem with that.
All right, and then right after that, you guys, Jason, Nick, and Zach took Brandon Marshall, A.J. Green, and Julio Jones right in a row, and I think that's pretty much the order I have them in. Maybe Julio Jones over A.J. Green, but that's a toss-up.
I had that same question in my head, but you know what? A.J. Green has no competition in Cincinnati.
And even less now.
And no matter what happens, he is going to get his looks. I still love him. I think Julio Jones has great upside. Brandon Marshall has great upside. But here, I just felt like, you know what? He has no competition. He's a man in Cincy.
Yeah, I agree with that. Sometimes that can be a good thing. Sometimes it can't be so good. It hasn't really seemed to hurt him that much.
Well, yeah.
In some games, he has kind of gotten taken out of the game a little bit by getting doubled on, especially against some of the better defenses, just because there's really no other option.
I've had a lot of luck trading him too.
Really?
It's a very good trade bait.
But I love Julio in the middle of the second.
All right, round 3, a nice big chunk of picks went by because we're drafting in a nice little group here. Round 3, you had the 7th pick overall in round 3. You went with Peyton Manning.
Yeah, I did.
How can you not?
It was a no-brainer for me. You took Rodgers, Nick,
in the 4th.
No, he took Jason.
Took Garcon there.
Jason went with
so I see Peyton Manning at the middle of the 3rd round, and it's like a gift out there for me. I mean, I was worried about my running backs. I considered my options, and I went with it because he's the top guy.
You're going to get a ton of points out of him. Garcon, I love him as a PPR monster. Doesn't matter who's going to be throwing the ball. He had 113 catches last year. Definitely going to go for another 100 this year.
Yeah, Nick, you took Garcon in the 3rd. I really like that a lot. I wanted him. I ended up going with Andre Johnson because I feel like once you go past Andre Johnson, it falls off significantly.
I love Andre
he is
Johnson.
The fall-off point.
I can't believe how underrated he is.
Yeah, if I didn't get a receiver, because I went running back, if I didn't get a receiver there, I'm in deep trouble.
He's the last guy in the top tier that could be worth even more than that. So
that is true. All right, coming after the break, we are going to break down our drafting strategies for mocks. I like that a lot.
Let's do it,
I love mocks. It's Mock Draft Monday on the Star Fantasy League Show, and you listen to the Star Fantasy League Show on 105.5 The Team.
You're listening to the Star Fantasy League Show. Contact the StarFantasyLeagues.com guys via Twitter at SFL Show.
We are back on the Star Fantasy League show on Mock Draft Monday, our very first and not the last Mock Draft Monday. I'm very excited.
It is great. It's going to continue. I'm obsessed. We're all obsessed. I mean, how can you not love this time of year? It seems like it gets better every year.
Well,
we're getting older, and yet it's getting better.
Wait, hold on. It not only is it getting better by talking about the drafting and going through all this, we give away so much value on the Star Fantasy League show, and we are not stopping now. How does a 100% to $2,000 bonus and $11 in free cash sound?
It would be good if I could use it.
You can't use it. Nick can't use it. But anybody listening to this show, use the bonus code FREE14. That's FREE14 when you sign up. 100% bonus to $2,000 and an $11 credit directly into your account.
It's just a great way to get started. We're talking about football season here. Football season is upon us.
And guess what? If you don't want to use that $11 credit, wait for football. You can use it today for baseball. We still got baseball going on. I know we're not talking about baseball fantasy for the next week or so, probably the next couple of weeks. But
yeah, on top of the season long, we got a $5 daily tournament for $5,000. It's only $5.
That is true. If you're playing your season long and you have a bunch of leagues, but they're kind of all set and you just nothing really to do on a Sunday morning, make a daily league. Try it out. If you have some injuries, guess what? All you have to do is create a brand new daily lineup every week.
And you can create both public and private leagues for both the daily and season-long contests.
That is right.
Draft season is upon us.
I know, it's
There's
exciting.
only 2.5 weeks.
All right, so we're doing the mock drafts all week. Not only mock draft Monday, we're talking about the first 3 rounds today, but we're going to continue all this whole mock draft. We're going to give you our strategies as it goes along. But right now, we're going to talk about the positional strategy that we have going. Zach, looks like you went wide receiver, quarterback here. You have no running backs through 3 rounds. Please take me through how you came to that.
Well, it's very interesting, I know, and it's not usually ideal, I wouldn't think, but for me, it's all about changing your strategy as you go throughout the draft based on who is there and what you think you can get later on. With Calvin Johnson, as far as I was concerned, there really wasn't a choice for me.
Yeah, you were stuck. You had the 7th
stuck.
overall
He was sitting
pick,
there at 7. There was no way I wasn't going to take him and let him slide to 8. And then when I came back with Julio Jones, I was looking at the other guys that were available there, and there just weren't – there weren't that many in terms of running backs behind him. Arian Foster was there. Doug Martin was there.
Scary.
Spiller.
Yeah.
All scary. And so I was looking at it, and I was like, Julio Jones, I get a lock of a guy in an offense, a number 1 guy who's big play every single game. And for me, that was exactly what I wanted to do in that position.
And then you had Peyton, so you kind of –
Yeah, I think you won. I think you
no-brainer.
win the lottery there.
Yeah.
So
All right, Nick. Nick, what about you? You went with a completely different strategy. Running back first, wide receiver.
Yeah, I always struggle with this because I think you need to have a running back in one of your first 2 picks, and I just don't like the drop-off into the second round. And Giovanni Bernard, like we just said, I think he's kind of sliding up draft boards. He's going to have the touches. He's going to have the versatility. Hugh Jackson loves to run the ball. I think him inside the top 10 is great. And then getting 2 strong wide receivers in A.J. Green and Pierre Garçon, that's just great. In a PPR league, those 2 guys are going to be monsters. I think that's just a strong way to go there.
Yeah.
But I agree with Zach. You need to watch what falls to you, too.
That is true. I am so high on wide receivers this season that I waited to the 3rd round to get my first receiver, and I felt like I got the last of the elite guys in Andre Johnson. But it just so happened to work out because I had the 10th overall pick. Monty Ball slid to me at 10. I felt like that was a no-brainer. And then I managed to get Marshawn Lynch on the way back in round 2. So if I can get 2 elite running backs in the first 2 rounds, I'm kind of going to go with it. And then I basically lucked into Andre Johnson.
Yeah,
if he wasn't there, I was taking probably Aaron Rodgers in that spot.
Yeah, not a bad way to go.
He's a number 1 guy. I think he's going to have a great year. Fitzpatrick's going to love him.
There are so many decisions to make. It's Mock Draft Monday. We're talking about mocks all this week, and we're talking about the Minnesota Vikings tomorrow.
Ooh.
FREE14 is the bonus code FREE14. Get yourself a 100% bonus, $2,000 on StarFantasyLeagues.com. You guys, this is going to be a good week, right?
Free stuff?
Yeah, free stuff. And if you don't like Mock Draft Monday, seriously, stop listening. Turn off your radios. Take it easy, guys.